I thought it would be fun to recap my favorite recipes of 2022. So I will show you my favorite recipes. It's just kind of a recap of ones I've already shown on the channel, but it's putting them all in one place. So if you're curious about my favorites of the year, these are it. Thanks for being a part of my new channel, and please subscribe if you haven't already. This recipe is a root vegetable au gratin, and it is on the left there. Those are celery root, which I have never bought before, didn't know what they were, so that was new to me. So it's celery root, baking potato, sweet potato, parsnips, Parmesan cheese, some milk. Recipe does call for cream, but I used milk because that was what I had on hand. So I'm just mixing in the salt and some ground white pepper and some nutmeg into this milk, and then I'm going to whisk that up. As you saw, I already buttered my pan that I'm going to use to bake this in. And the vegetables, you're going to want to slice those up into about an 1/8 inch thickness. I used my mandolin to slice them, and it went really quickly and really easily. So first you want to layer the baked potato down, and I kind of overlap them a little bit. And then we're going to put on a little bit of that cream mixture. The next layer is the parsnips. I'm getting hungry just watching this. This meal was delicious. This vegetable au gratin was incredible. Absolutely loved it. So here are the sweet potatoes. And then some chopped up chives. And I'm using this whole container, but I'm putting about half of it on this layer, and then I will top the whole thing with the other half. So probably in total it's a cup of Parmesan cheese. The recipe calls for half a cup, but I love some cheese. And now this layer is the celery root. This recipe is from a family member, and I think they got it from their hairdresser. So it's been passed around. And now I'm topping another layer with the baked potato. So kind of sandwiching the whole thing in with the baked potato. And then I'm using up all the rest of that cream mix that I made. And I do throw on a little bit more nutmeg and white pepper, because why not? And some more chives and the rest of the cheese. And then I cover it in tin foil and bake it at 400 degrees for an hour. For the last 15 minutes, I would take off the cover so you get a little browning on top, but boy oh boy, was this incredible and delicious and amazing. This is a lemon pasta shrimp recipe that is absolutely delicious and very simple. So right now I'm just going to cook up my shrimp. I had some raw shrimp, so it took a little bit longer, but you could use pre-cooked shrimp as well. I'm adding into my olive oil and butter 3 cloves of garlic, and of course a couple pinches of salt and a couple dashes of pepper. Adding in the shrimp. Those took, I would say, maybe 10 minutes to get cooked up. Then I'm going to drain those and put those off to the side. And then for the butter lemon sauce, you're going to use 2 sticks of butter. Yep. And over a whole box of pasta. It's not that bad, right? And then you're going to put in the zest from 2 lemons and then the juice from those lemons as well. The dish really has actually kind of a light flavor, I think, with that lemon. Even though there's so much butter, it just feels really light and feels somewhat healthy. I know it's not. And it makes a ton. I used 1 box, and tonight we are only 2 people, so we definitely have enough for tomorrow night, if not a 3rd meal. 3rd dinner. And of course, a couple more pinches of salt, a couple dashes of pepper. Let that simmer for a little bit. I'm just cooking up the pasta according to the package. I used angel hair. The original recipe I was inspired by was a Ina Garten recipe, and she used capellini. I couldn't find capellini, so I used angel hair. Angel hair only takes about 4 minutes to cook. Now I'm just adding in the pasta directly from the pasta water. I'm not draining it beforehand, because I actually end up using a couple scoops full of that water and add that to the mixture just for a little more liquid. And now I'm just getting it all nice and mixed up. That lemon flavor is spectacular. I love this. I could make this every week, and it's really, really easy. So yeah, that is the lemon pasta shrimp recipe. This recipe is a hearty tortellini soup. It was delicious. It's one of my favorite things I've made in a very long time. I could eat this every day. So you're gonna start by putting in 2 cans of diced tomatoes. One of those cans is fire roasted and the other one is plain. And then I ended up using this whole box of chicken stock. You could also use chicken broth. I'm measuring it out here because I'm thinking I want 4 cups, and then I realized the container is 4 cups. And then a can of tomato paste. Give it a good stir. And then I cook that on low before adding this meat. So I'm browning up some ground pork. Then you're going to drain the grease off the pork and add some garlic. I'm using minced garlic, a good 3 spoonfuls of it, a lot of garlic. You could also use regular garlic or even a garlic paste perhaps. Give that a good stir so you can start smelling the garlic. The house smells so good. Now I'm adding a lot of Italian seasoning. You could use your own homemade Italian seasoning as well. And then, of course, a pinch of salt and a dash of pepper, a few of them. Now I'm adding the meat to the crock pot. More salt and pepper and more Italian seasoning. And then I cook that on low in the crock pot for about 4 hours. And then about a half hour before you're ready to eat, you can add in your tortellini. These are the refrigerated kind, not the frozen. So if you add the frozen, it might take a little longer. I just kept testing the tortellini to make sure it wasn't getting overdone, but also you want it to get hot. And then I added some half and half, probably about a cup. I go back in. I was going more by what I wanted the color of the soup to be. So it's probably about a cup of half and half. You could use milk or heavy whipping cream as well. And then I let that sit for, it was almost exactly a half hour. And I also added almost that entire tub of Parmesan cheese, and I left the remaining in the tub so that we could top our soup later. It was delicious, easy crock pot meal, super easy, very affordable, and I would say this serves at least 6 to 8 people or servings. So there you go. That is the crock pot tortellini I made. This is a ham ball recipe my mom had requested. It is one of their meal preps for the week, so I had never made them before. This is my first time making them. It is 1.5 cups of brown sugar. I'm making the sauce right now that goes drizzled over the top. And then a can of tomato soup. It does say 1.5 cans of tomato soup, and I do think that would have been better to get more sauce on the top. And then a half cup of vinegar. I did just a little bit less than 1/3 of a cup, and I'm using apple cider vinegar. I don't know if it makes a difference. And then 2 tablespoons of dry mustard. And then you're going to pound out and crumble some graham crackers. The official measurement is 2 cups. I didn't measure. I just grabbed 2 packages, and there you see I grabbed one for myself to eat right there. So this is part of the, it's kind of like a meatloaf, so you need something to hold it together. So this is the part that gets mixed in with the meat. So I'm adding 2 eggs to those graham crackers. Get that mixed up. And everyone really loved this. It does have a sweet flavor to it, which everyone loved. I loved it more than I thought I was going to, because I'm not a big fan of meatloaf. But it was delicious, and I took some leftovers to work yesterday. So I added a cup of milk. And then there's about a pound of ground beef. And then I'm going to add another pound of its ground smoked ham. So it's already cooked. I had never bought this before. I had to actually ask the meat counter guy where it was at. It was kind of by the bacon or bologna section. And then I'm just getting that all mixed up like you would meatloaf. And then I'm going to put them in this pan here in about half a cup balls. And I get less neat as I go along there. And then you're going to drizzle the sauce over the top. You're going to want to bake it for 90 minutes at 350 degrees with a tinfoil cover on it. And I do pour the sauce over the top here coming up that I had saved in a little baggie. I originally thought I was going to put the ham balls in the baggie as well, but then I realized that's not gonna, they're just gonna get all mushed together. So I did it this way for their meal prep. And it was really, really good. I loved it way more than I thought I was going to, and I will definitely make this again, and it's one of my favorites of the year. Every year around Christmas or New Year's, we love to cook up a prime rib. Prime rib is my favorite thing to eat in the world. So I got these roasts at Target. They were $9.99 a pound. Sometimes they do go on sale after Christmas. So for the spice mixture, you have 2 tablespoons of ground black pepper, 2 tablespoons of thyme, 2 tablespoons of rosemary, 2 tablespoons of garlic powder, and 2 tablespoons of onion powder. Then you're going to mix that all together with the soft butter. You just want the butter to be soft enough that you can spread it on the prime rib. So my husband is cutting the bone away from the meat a little bit here, just so it's easier to cut after it's cooked. He did score the fat there. I think that's what you call it when you cut it, just to break it up a little bit. And now he's putting that rub all over the prime rib. You could use gloves as well because it does get pretty messy. And then he's going to top it with a lot of kosher salt, which is really good in the drippings to make your au jus with afterwards. You could cook this in the oven as well. There's different ways to cook a prime rib in the oven. We did use our smoker for this. We smoked it at 225 degrees for about a half hour per pound of one of the roasts since they're together. And it took about 3 hours, I would say. And then my husband let it sit in a cooler wrapped in a couple towels for about an hour just to let it sit. And those drippings made awesome au jus later. And this is my favorite meal of the year. I much prefer this over the Thanksgiving meal. And this is the favorite recipe that we have found. The one that he's cutting there is a little more done than the bigger one, and that is what we wanted because there were a couple people that wanted theirs more done, and we like ours medium rare. It is so good, delicious. Highly recommend this recipe. It's not that difficult, so it is delicious and amazing and my favorite. Thanks for watching. So this is a kielbasa and peppers and rice, kind of a Creole kielbasa meal. And I end up only using one each of these rings for each household. And I froze the other two that I will use with our pierogi we're having very soon. So I'm just cutting up the kielbasa here. And then I throw in some of that Creole seasoning, get it a good shake, mix it together. And then I'm going to slice up 3 bell peppers for each meal kit. And I just chose the red, yellow, and orange. When I went to the grocery store this day for this meal prep, I ended up buying 20 bell peppers. And they thought I was crazy. But for some reason, all the meals I wanted to make this week, almost all of them had bell peppers in it, and I'm not mad about it. I'm going to put all these in the same baggie with the kielbasa and put more Creole seasoning in there and shake it up. This one was so easy. And then I did just serve this with some rice. And I actually ended up freezing this one because I thought it was sitting too long in the fridge. So I froze it and then made it again, and it was delicious. Thanks for watching this recap of my favorite recipes from 2022, and thanks for being a part of this channel.